Look at this, you ready? Bam. I did a setup for this. I whipped out the green screen for this. So I can finally, well, I can't spill all the deets because, like, spoilers. I can tell you about what I thought, and I can tell you about my Yoshi P story now. I have a few guideline notes for myself just so I can refresh myself on what I experienced and really like the main takeaways for me from the game, because I think a lot of what you're gonna see online is probably gonna be in way more detail than what I will go into, in the sense of like combat and exploration and things like that, because I think you all know that my main focus really is the story, the storytelling and all of its elements, the voice acting, also just the journey that this game will take you on. So I'm very emotionally invested in games. I think that's pretty obvious. I think we know this by now, yeah? I get pretty emotionally invested in what I play. Going to that event was really an interesting time to see where this game emotionally stands, in the sense of how is this game gonna open up? How are they gonna lay out the stakes in the first couple of hours in which I'm playing? How am I gonna care about these characters? You know, all of those kind of little things. I didn't play everything at the event. I'd like to say that. I know what I could have played, but I chose not to. And I think for good reason. Not because I didn't want to, I really did, but for the sake of preserving it for a first playthrough, I held off with playing certain elements of the game. I think this helps because it also will give you minimal spoilers. This is the second time I've had a chance to have a hands-on with 16. So I went with a first impression, and then picking up the game again, it was building off that first impression, which was mainly to do with the combat rather than story per se. What I got to play was the opening of the game. And I also have to preface that what we played was an accessible version of the game for the event. So it doesn't necessarily reflect what might be in the final game, but what I did play was the opening from like the beginning until the title drop. Oh, I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to say about it, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I know there is a lot I am able to say, but at the same time, I genuinely, after playing just the opening, I felt like it was such a special experience. What did you think about the combat compared to other Final Fantasy games? The combat was really enjoyable. I played it on, so there's two different modes you can play it on. I played it on the story focus mode. It basically equipped the items that would help with like dodging and like blocking, like things like that, like automatically, just so you had a focus on the story. I sucked at the combat, by the way. That's why it took me, so usually the introduction, they said it would take you about 2 hours. It took me 3. For multiple reasons, but one reason was because I was pretty bad at the combat, but it was so fun. But it was because I unequipped the things to see how, oh, is it that hard? And yes, you have to be pretty good at your timing. It's good to know that they have stuff like that to help out with combat and newcomers. Oh, absolutely. It's as difficult as you want it to be. There are things there to help you, like the equipping certain things, like to help with your evasion, and I personally really enjoy that as a mechanic for difficulty. I feel like it's definitely more like approachable. It's like putting on the training wheels with a bike. You can just learn how to ride the bike in the beginning, and you can gradually take them off if you want. So I played the introduction cutscene. The way that Koji expressed that this game is like a roller coaster is not an understatement. And I can say that from the opening, the introduction. It is truly a roller coaster experience, and it was just the first 2 hours of the opening until the title drop. You start off the game as Clive in his 20s, and it starts off with this immense icon battle. It lays out the feel completely for what these icon fights will be like, and they are just as magical and huge as you can imagine them to be. What you've seen in the trailers, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and from the opening of the game, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And it lays out the true, for me at least, from having that in the opening, it laid out for me the stakes of these fights. I don't know if you spoke about it before, right, but how is the music in the VA? I will definitely get to that once I kind of give a little context to what I actually played, because then I'll be able to tell you about how I really enjoyed it, and also that I got to meet Ben, so I got to meet Nina, who is the voice of Benedicta. So lovely, like so lovely and passionate about it. It was amazing to be in their presence and be able to play the game, you know, and just suddenly be like, oh hi, I literally just heard you in this game. Wow, amazing. Yeah, so the opening of the game, it throws you into the action straight away. From there, it leads into the majority of what you play in the opening is a flashback. So you play as a younger Clive. I love when games do that. I love when games lay out the stakes and the weight of what the game has already created for itself, like at a certain point. It makes you think, wow, what has led to this? And the game's like, I will answer you, here you go, this is what led to this. And I love when games do that. I love it so much because it gives, and especially on like multiple playthroughs, like when I know I'm going to replay the game, the knowledge of what is before and like piecing things together afterwards, it really hits different. Also in the opening, before we get to younger Clive, we meet multiple characters. It sets the stage for multiple stories, multiple storylines, which is very interesting. And I think from the previous 16 talk that we did, where all of you were asking me to watch through the 16 trailers again. So from what I was saying, I was hoping to see from this game specifically is what themes play a really major role for these characters. How do their circumstances link to one another through the themes of the game? And I remember, and this is so funny, I remember saying I'm really interested to see how the game tackles love as a theme. It's incredible to see how, not even just from the theme of love, but also from other themes like conflict and like grief and like all these other very human emotions, how each of those emotions are processed by the characters and also elevated by the incredible voice acting that I got to experience from the opening of the game. Truly, I felt so emotionally invested in the words and the weight that coming out of those characters' mouths. It was like the room was empty as I was playing that game. And back onto the theme of like love and different versions of love, like the lust of love. Very interesting thing was like status and like status. Whilst you're walking through, I think it's Rosalith, people that work around the castle compared to obviously people of royal nobility. The distinction with that and the conflict with that too contributed entirely to the grand scheme of where you were as Clive and how he navigates those situations, which is so interesting. And it played into the bigger picture of which of his character and what he is going through, that what his circumstances are. Ben's answer about Clive was very intriguing. Oh yes, with his interview, he did say love, didn't he? And I can, from the opening, I can see why. And I'm very intrigued to see how that changes, or rather blooms or grows, or what truly he means by love as we keep playing the game. This will be the longest month of my life. Yeah. And I just think I just think love is such a good word to describe the opening of the game. Honestly, I obviously because I loved it. Also, it's an expression of which is either very present or it's not with characters. And then again, and also, as we said, like love, it has very like different meanings for different people, and we meet a lot of different people in the setup in the beginning. In the first 2-ish hours before the title drop, you are bombarded. It is a roller coaster. Yoshi P just throws hands. He's not playing around. And I know, because I cried in front of him, okay? Maybe this leads on to the story. I can tell. Let's just say the opening of the game, I got emotional. It doesn't pull punches. When the team said that their focus truly was to make sure that the story was fleshed out and it was the main thing that they wanted you as the player, like to take away from this game, is the story and the journey that you go on, and the consequences and the actions and the events that happen in Clive's life. They want you to feel the impact of it. I felt the impact of it. I was a wreck. And it was a room filled with like so many people, so it was like there was other influences there, and it genuinely was because of this reaction and this interaction with Yoshi P that I did not play the rest, just for the sake of knowing how incredible this experience will be once I'm able to play it, when it comes out. I withheld myself. I know I'm crazy. But anyway, something happens on my screen. I'm not okay. There is tears, there is mascara down my face. After 2 hours or so, the title drops, right? And the screen, it fades to black. God. The timing. Well done. Well done with the timing. It fades to black. I've got an audience behind me that is what has been watching me play for the past 30 minutes. So it fades out. And from the reflection of the screen, I see that people are behind me, right? And who do I see standing literally right here, right behind my chair, staring over my shoulder at the mascara just coming down my face. He can see my face in the reflection of the TV. I'm fighting for my life. It's Yoshi P. He's just standing there with his arms crossed and he's smiling. He's smiling. He's smiling as I am distraught. That's mean, but it gets worse as I'm like recovering and I see in the screen, I realize who that is. I'm like, oh no, oh god. And I just hear this shuffling. I hear this shuffling, this walking, and he comes into view. And he's just like right next to the screen, and I look up to him as I'm sat there with all these tears. And he looks down, he's like, I'm so sorry. He apologized to me! He said he was sorry! And I was just sat there like, it's okay. I get really upset over a lot of games, right? At least for this video game that I know will probably destroy me. At least I have some emotional compensation, an apology from the man himself. That was my interaction with Yoshi P. The foundation that they lay out in the beginning, especially this is Clive's journey that you go on with him, but through his journey, you experience the journey of other people and the people that come in and out of your life. You experience that through Clive. And I think that was drilled home so much in the opening to incredible emotional heights. If I can just take a moment to talk about the voice acting. Obviously, we know I'm a little voice actor. I'm just a little guy though. To play a game in which I have been able to interact with the most talented people I've ever met, the most lovely people I've ever met in this industry, to have the opportunity to hear how much this game is meant to them, be able to speak to people about it, to see the reactions of people playing something that they are passionate about and they were passionate about making. It breathed a whole new life into the scenes as I was watching them. Because obviously, yeah, I knew it was them, like the actors voicing it, but the characters felt so grounded and so real. Their reactions, their screams, their laughter, the non-verbal as well, the grunts or the sighs, just done so well. And so I could just tell that so much care was put into the direction and delivery of these voices, and to see where it will go from this opening. And I said that as the stakes rise and the situations get more dire, or the character has to navigate, Clive has to navigate different situations. I'm very excited to see it. Yeah, can someone put me in a time machine, please? I just need to play it now. Just the variety of accents too that you got to hear in the game as well. It was just so refreshing. It's able to showcase lots of people's talent, you know, and I think more games should be doing that, you know. I may be biased. The main thing I'm excited about for Final Fantasy XVI is that this will truly be some people's first Final Fantasy. The idea of that, and the idea of even just being a small piece of that, you know, like being able to talk about it and go to this event and have a hands-on and play it and see the vision of which the 16 team have brought to life. It's incredible. And if you were to play this as your first Final Fantasy game, I think you're gonna have an amazing time with it. I know if this was my first Final Fantasy game, I would want to play so much Final Fantasy after this. I want to immerse myself in this world that has been capable of making me feel these emotions in the first 3 hours, you know? And we know how special and like magical and fantastical Final Fantasy is. Yeah, I just really hope that this game truly speaks to newcomers, which I think it does. I do feel that it does. Oh. This is me. Should have photoshopped a picture of my face over the guy. Oh. Ooh. Finally, I am not silenced by the NDA. I'm very excited for Final Fantasy XVI. Yes.